The tow rope snaps with a judder you feel in your bones, a shiver running nose to tail, and the Waco becomes its own creature again. Canvas and spruce groaning as Madsen drops the nose into the gray. Cloud crushes them into a belly with no horizon, only rain smeared on the windshield and hedgerows lifting out of the black. Lieutenant Evan Hale braces boots on the spar, voice clipped by practice. Belts, brace. Straps, cinch. Bodies hunch around the handcart slung between knees like a packed heart. A west wind with an edge, 8, maybe 10 knots, shoves the light wing, drift baked in by a rough tow. They should be over a gap. They aren't. Fields rise too fast, curved green gone charcoal in the mist, and then the hedgerow is a jaw. The skid bites sideways. A wingtip scythes into hedge with a wooden scream. Glass bursts inward in cold needles. Canvas tears, one long rip, mud slaps the belly. A stone trough disintegrates under the nose, spraying splinters and muck across boots. Something heavy breaks loose and thumps. The glider slews, lurches, stops. Silence rings. Hale's head fills with it, the pause after a slam when the world waits to see who yells. He yanks his buckle. Hands, whole. Men, 12 faces in patchy light, wide eyes, breathing. One curse, one prayer. Madsen in the left seat sits upright, listing, blood beaded on his hairline like dew, pupils too wide. His fingers flutter on a ghost keyboard, then clamp a yoke that's no help now. Hale says it low and fast, and the unit moves like drills taught, cutting canvas, throwing lashings, muscling the handcart into mud with care that still clatters. Taped metal still finds edges. Dirt is on his tongue, manure, bruised grass. Normandy uncoiling as a place instead of a line on a map. Bocage, earthen banks 3 to 5 feet, roots and rock wired tight, hedges dense from centuries, walls that stop tanks unless you show your teeth through a gap. A wooden rib creaks as they heave the handcart upright, calf muscle in the machine they hauled across a sea. The M19-19A4 on it is a good gun when set, an anchor when you need to flow. Hale tastes the trade even as his hands push. Sergeant Nora Pike is already at the side door, breath fogging, hand under her blouse, cupping the brick of the SCR 536. She keeps the handset pressed to her chest to kill shine. She moves like someone taught to land in the dark, knees soft, head up, ears hungry for everything that isn't them. The antenna's joint snapped in the last turn. She's sleeved it with black cloth that looks like a promise and a threat. A red-lensed flashlight slides up a finger width, a check, then tucks away. Heat itches her knuckle. The battery is weak. The hangar talk was loud about that, and a full-power call now will be a one-note scream. She grinds that fact and looks to Hale. His nod sits on her choice like weight. Drizzle slicks mud to shine, skins the low spots. Beyond the torn canvas, pasture leans gentle to a hedgerow, the bank a dark stroke in grass. Mist pools like milk in hollows. The world is edges, a stone dairy barn to the north, eaves tight and black. A lane beyond the eastern hedge, the map promised 2 fields away. Wind slaps the torn wing, leftover fabric breathing like an animal that still thinks it can fly. Low cloud presses light flat. The air has that damp electric feel that says dawn is a hand coming up from under the table. Civil twilight near Jo 445, they remember that, and light will climb fast, dragging shadows, stripping the night out of places that want it. Check, Hale says. Hands rise, fingers for count, silent roll call. 12 plus him, and Pike. 13, a number learned not to trust. Madsen manages a dry croak that wants to be a joke. His blinks go slow, his hearing tunneled to a narrow alley that picks what it wants. Mild concussion. Hale files the medic's talk. Ringing ears, balance trouble. A pilot after impact, a hazard. Stay put, he whispers as Madsen reaches for buckles. Pride tenses, body obeys. On the ridge south, a white rectangle glows through drizzle, a tooth in the gloom, exactly like the panels briefed. White muslin hooked with T-stakes, a pattern that tells air here and ground, this is the place. It sits where the map shows nothing, wrong for their rally. Men see it in pieces, a squint, a point, a sharp inhale bit down. Hale's heart half stalls. His map told one story. This is another. Confidence slides on like a coat. The marker is right there, he wants to say. We go. He doesn't. A short distance in daylight is a mile right now. If it's false, it's a mouth. If it's true, it's everything. Panels can be spoofed, Pike breathes. White cloth is easy. Orientation matters, how it faces wind, how the weights sit, the code cut into it. She studies through mist and training meant to keep men from obvious wrong. Her hand finds the radio again, as if answers could be pulled from a dying battery's hiss. The damaged whip shrinks range to hedgerows, a whisper, not a shout. She files it to burn later. Hale watches her watch the ridge and asks himself if wanting can make a thing true. It can't. A cowbell tinks off to the right, irregular, spoon on tin in another room. Cows drift steam, pushed by fear and smell. The crash spooked them. They migrate toward the lane on the far side of the hedge, toward any ear that listens. That ear might smile and light a cigarette, or fetch a machine gun team. German outposts are thin, purposeful, MG 34 or 42 to rake gaps, flares to slice night, a man ready to call a mortar when a target obliges with a shape. Barn, lane, ditch, geometry now, surfaces for sound, rails for threat. Rizzo, bazooka slung, watches the hedgerow gap like a cat watches a snake hole. Thumbs worry rubber grips, superstition checked by discipline. The tube is heavy when his hands want a rifle. 3 rockets, 1 fin bent. 2 good, 1 wild. Math tightens his jaw. His heel peels in mud and nearly takes his boot, noise and no traction at once. Hale's hand clamps his forearm, a weight that doesn't need words. The handcart sits like a confession. The M1919 and ammo boxes shine with mist. Heavy weapons promise you can stay and argue in lead. They are also freight in a maze of dirt-walled alleys. A drainage ditch snakes along the field bottom, a sunken run leading to a culvert under the lane if the map in Hale's head still holds. It will funnel sound like a horn. Reeds will slap legs, catch gear. Drizzle has turned silt to paste that grabs boots for a breath, a curse enough to be seen by the wrong eye. Hale looks from handcart to ditch. Time pulls his sleeve. He crawls to the hedgerow notch cut by their wing and peeks through torn branches. The lane is a darker strip, wagon ruts shined by rain. Another hedge beyond, a gap-framing world like a keyhole. Hedges leave spokes of fire if someone set it. A flare cartridge scrapes, tiny, sure, like a match pulled from cardboard. A hiss farther along, then stop. A close curse in a throat not theirs. The outpost is near. He slides back to the wing cover. Faces read the news in his eyes. Battery's near dead, Pike says. 1 full burst, and we're mute. Cut the antenna, lower power, try line of sight. Maybe. Risk is we light ourselves on their net if they're listening. Flat math. Hale nods. It's her tool, ugly choices unchanged by voice. The improvised trick, breaking the damaged section, shortening the whip to keep the signal tight, buys control at cost of reach. Useful only if his inner map matches ground. On the ridge, the white brightens, cloth lifting in gusts. Orientation, wrong. Pike's ghost voice notes. It faces seaward like a beckoning palm, not inland to welcome from bocage. Hale slices his breath. The easy answer looks like a spring-loaded door. Go and be fish. Ignore and miss the turn the rest might make. They move the wounded pilot before he proves pride. Webbing under his armpits, slide him onto a poncho to keep him out of worst wet. Madsen vomits a little on his collar and apologizes like manners are armor. He tries to roll. The world slides. He stays. Hands shake less or muscles give out. His ears ring a tone that narrows the world. Hale wants to clap his shoulder. He doesn't. Time honks. Noise, discipline holds. Cloth on buckles. Wraps on loose metal. Still, care makes sound. Mud ripping around boots, a soft clack of a clip. Hedgerows are not shrubs. They're architecture. They reflect, multiply, aim noise. A cough becomes a whisper in the next field, a click a syllable, a footsuck a question answered by a bullet. They back from the glider's bright wound toward the ditch, heads low, bodies folding into work. The dairy barn watches, slate roof slick, stone wall damp and dumb. A single click pops from trees beyond the lane, crisp textbook challenge cut out of the air. Freeze. A wave passes through muscles, eyes cut to Pike, then to Hale. Clicker codes are old tricks, sound to sort friend from foe. One ask, two answer. Cadence is everything. Rhythm has nationality. This cadence is too clean, too hungry. Place is wrong too. Their plan did not put friendlies there. Hale's mouth dries. Boots scuff a stone, a hissed hush in another tongue. The mist holds the click like a bell's last breath. They do not answer. Rizzo's arms twitch and then go still. Machine joins late. Up the lane, a magazine seats with a sound you learn to hate. The flare pistol scrapes again, pauses as a pulse counts seconds. A cow, oblivious to codes, pushes through the gap, steam haloed, bell clinking a betrayal. Hale sees the habit, light sky, freeze movement, sweep with MG-42, and feels how little hides the wedge their wing made. If he burns the radio now and drains it, they will have shouted their last into a room where someone else holds the switch. He sniffs weather to anchor his mind. Drizzle fattens to thin rain, gloss on everything, ditch a black throat. West wind brings sea salt and earth and a faint chemical reek, wet cloth or something deliberate under dew. Pike stands half a step behind, hood up, face pale in shadow. "We move ditch," she says. The rest is clear. They're baiting the panel. He doesn't thank her. He holds her eye and nods once. The path narrows to the hate he can live with. They stack on the ditch in order of weight and impatience, test lifting the handcart, feeling its will to stick. The M1919 is a question now. Take it and crawl like old men, or leave it and keep their pulse useful. Lane is too close, panel too loud. Hale makes the calculation war feeds on. "Leave the gun," he says. It feels like trading a tooth to keep a tongue. Ammo belts strip off, slung despite the drag. They shove the tripod under hedgerow roots where the bank is thickest, mark it in mind with feel, not coordinate. Cold mud sneaks into boots, sealing the promise that choices become debts. In the cabin, Madsen's world is small. Canvas, blood metal taste, oil, and fear. He hears click, hiss, bell, and wants to laugh at the cow, then clamps down because laughter strains fragile things. He reaches up. His hand shows him it still shakes. Shame is small and real. He folds fingers, presses the other hand to his ear to push ringing down, and waits to be dragged or tied down. Men slide into the ditch grabs back. Reeds squeal on webbing. Mud decides, release or hold. Fight it, it wins. Ease weight, slide, become shapes the ditch can accept. The curve promises a culvert under the lane if the map didn't lie, and Normandy farmers didn't change its minds. Hedgerows overhead funnel what little sound they make into a narrow band that could skip out at the worst moment. Heads down, breath small, handcart held above muck like an altar. Upslope, the white panel flutters, flirting harder now it's denied. A breeze shows from the wrong quarter for how it sits. From the ridge, a darker seam where hedgerow meets air suggests wires strung where no lines should be. Pike, An eye trained to see lines catches the gleam and files it. Her thumb finds cold radio metal, antennas tape joint rough on her palm. She weighs the low-power trick again. Break the mast, shrink the reach, whisper to a friend behind a wall within earshot. She imagines a German ear tilting, drawing a line. She holds. Hale checks his watch without seeing it, skin knowing dawn. Ships will nudge beaches regardless. His piece is small and will vanish if he gets the next choice wrong. He has been too certain before, burned minutes on a nice line to a locked door. He tastes that memory with rain and lets it guide. Darker, longer, ditches and culverts, not a bright sign on a hill. Lane ahead cough shapes, figures low, weapons nursed, helmets damp, the posture of first-line men. A voice whispers a command. Boots move. Stop. Metal taps stone. A ringtone in the ear. An MG team sits somewhere, trained to sweep openings. Rizzo behind him is a loaded spring. Hands tremble, rain dances on the tube. He wipes the rear sight with a thumb he doesn't trust. The click comes again. Single, neat, wrong. It hangs in mist. Safeties take off around Hale, a quiet chorus that could kill them if it cues the wrong ears. Breath shallow. They wait for a second click that would simplify everything and know it won't come from friends. Figures shift. One, impatient or drilled, lets a flare go. Green fire tongues from the pistol and hesitates, an ember promising daylight before daylight. Hale clamps his jaw, palm up, halt. Mist skins the hiss to a whisper, but the math changes. Wrong cadence, a pale panel like a tooth, a screaming matchstick about to write them in the sky. Hedgerow ribs hold breath. For a heartbeat, Hale wishes the soil would swallow fabric and loud men and small plans. They put our sign to the wrong wind, Pike whispers, voice cloth on wood, hand set under chin, antenna taped and too short, a red smudge hooded by her palm. It's facing the sea. She doesn't look at Hale. She knows he knows. Either someone doesn't know the code, or someone wants them to think they do. He reads the ridge through mist like a misprinted map. The stakes too clean, fabric unrumpled by drizzle, angle wrong to a steady west breeze. He imagines a friendly in panic pinning it. Imagination costs lives. The clicker cadence was off by a heartbeat. His finger taps the map case twice, then stops. A cow pushes its head through the hedge gap, breath a ghost, bell a shout. A German hisses for quiet in a dialect, tone enough to fear. The cow lumbers toward the lane, a hulking white ghost that will draw eyes and a torch. Rizzo's thumb grazes the trigger bar. Pike's boot on his shin says no, and now and never without a word. The bell chimes, metal scrapes, a hand fiddles a flare cartridge. One wrong noise starts a chain you cannot stop. Hale spends waiting like coin. We leave the gun, he murmurs to the men who still don't want to. Doctrine says weight is certainty. The line and the flare say speed is life. Protests die in their throats because hiss builds overhead. Belts sling, spare barrel rides like a relic, folded steel, and its dreams crouch in wreck shadow by the stone trough. Madsen tries to stand, pinwheels hand to ear. I can take the nose, he lies. Pike's hand finds his collar, pushes him down, the radio cupped like a bird. You take your head, she says, and his eyes flicker, hearing only part. He misses Earth by an inch that feels like a mile. Hale assigns him to Shadow Pike. Two liabilities become one guarded thing. They drag the handcart into the drainage, the wheels lifted, straps biting palms. Even wrapped care sings, reed stubble hisses, clay pops, metallic ghosts knock in pockets. The ditch bows them lower. The culvert's lip waits like a mouth. They pass the antenna's broken section hand to hand, foil wrapped for emergencies. Point to point, Pike whispers, meaning when they see a friend. Here, boxed by banks and thorn, the radio's whisper will go nowhere fast. We can squirt when we see them, she says. A full-power call now is a match struck in a cave. The backblast would be ears that don't wear their uniform. Single file. Hale mid, Pike and Madsen together, Rizzo last, tube laid along mud, muzzle cup keeping grit out. Rizzo checks rockets by feel. Stomach bites. 2. HE, 1 bent fin like a bad prayer. Misfire here is a flare without information. He kisses his thumbnail, hates the habit, holds the tube tighter anyway. Hale forces himself away from the ridge. Clarity isn't coming, only light is. The flare peaks, hisses, and the field turns to cut glass. Cows freeze to statues, breath like smoke. Hedges carve men into relief. The lane becomes a stage. A helmet glints, a barrel redraws horizon, hands pass something low. The panel glares like a mirror. Too perfect. Stakes are fresh, pattern off by 1. Someone cut this from the idea of a panel, not the instructions. Flare crackles, dying, and a German works another cartridge with polite practice. A voice barks. The cows shuffle toward the gap, bell louder. Hale tastes metal. A cow arriving under a dying flare is doctrine in the making. Torch, shape, burst. His hand goes flat, lower. He's already pressed into the ditch wall, cheek on rock, because the only move left is to make a smaller target than the lane deserves. The ditch demands attacks. A slip, skinned knees, a bitten tongue. Reeds clutch and whisper like traitors. A boot heel comes off with an obscene suck. Jansen stares at his sock foot in mud. On, Hale breathes. Jansen folds and goes, toes finding purchase because he watches Hale's back like a lighthouse. Rizzo hooks the floating heel with the tube, smearing another mark that says, "Men rushed." They pay and accept the receipt. A carbine clacks somewhere not their ditch, sound robbed of echo and thrown back at them from 3 angles. 1 click, silence. 2nd click, a student reciting late. Pike's shoulders tighten. "Compromised," she says, turning knowledge into a label. Clickers that were supposed to save now bait. Hale imagines a dizzy paratrooper and a German with a captured toy doing arithmetic by ear. He steps nowhere he doesn't choose. A flashlight scratches across the gap. It fills hedge with meat light, finds cow eyes, and behind a flattened bed of reeds where something big slid into the ditch. The beam holds, interest in its pause. Hale feels the light as a sound. "Now," he says, and they move like a word they didn't know they knew. The handcart wheel catches the culvert lip. A squeal swells. Jansen's sock jam and Pike's palms smother it. Pain flickers and passes. Heave, through. Throats under water, noses scrape stone, packs bite mortar. Madsen stutters at the mouth. Hale's hand is on the back of his jacket and on stone. A bridge. He thinks of maps that drew this ditch as a neat line and feels the world make it a question. The flare spits, dies, drops smoking into hedge. A leaf ignites and gutters. They slide under. The culvert is a throat, boom of breath and water, a storm. A slice of view beyond shows the panel shiver in a wind it shouldn't have. The world lightens a shade as the idea of dawn arrives. Movement near the panel, too fast to be a cow, too sure to be panic. For a second, friendly. Then a heel scuffs. The gait is wrong. A silhouette holds a spool like for tripwire. Hope crosses out. Pike's wind comment and wrong cadence bracket it. Cold hits like thought when they crawl out. Lane noise floats, low, purposeful, heavier than a staff car, lighter than a tank. The ditch runs along the lane feet below it, good cover and a funnel for shrapnel. Water rises with the rain, lugging them toward light. They have to move. Pike tucks the antenna under stone, eyes on sky slivers through leaves. "When the engine drowns us," she says, "I'll try a shout, line of sight, downhill." Hale pictures mine flares and dew wires. The hot stone in his throat is his confidence shrunk to size. Boots rattle the bridge above. A voice barks a short something. Cowbell diminishes. The flashlight passes again and dies. Batteries or boredom. They freeze, culvert water to wrists, breath pushed into sleeves. Grit scrapes under a heel. Leather and grease smell filter through rock like memory. 6 bodies pinned when decision becomes reflex. The panel shivers wrong above their mental map, trying to pull eyes. A hazard blossoms left, knee-high. A line thrums on Hale's boot, too tight, too deliberate, dew ticking along it like beads. He freezes, whispers a word that isn't. Pike leans, sees, and swallows sound. Wire runs from ditch wall to an apple tree root claw and disappears under nettle at a post. Angle is a crawling man's height. He reads it like print. The ridge's teeth are wired, hedges here too, and safe ways are questions with bad answers. An engine swells, a lorry coming. Lamps brush the far bridge lip. Rizzo shades the tube's mouth from beam, thumb on trigger again because fear loops. The wire hums. Time bleeds. Beaches rely on men like them to make markers make sense. Pathfinders hang in trees with compromised codes. Hale glances at Pike. She angles the antenna, his eyes set. Their cover is noise and headlamps hitting water. The lorry rounds the bend. Headlights rake the ditch mouth. Reeds turn to glass as Rizzo's finger tightens. Hale clamps the tube and drags it down. Impulse wrestling training, wet sling-cutting glove. White arcs widen. A horn bleats twice. Impatient, human. A German laughs beyond hedge because the flare did its work and now it's waiting for panic. Headlamps flatten the world to plains. Cows lift heads. Bells clink. The engine idles, revs, wheels crunch gravel. It stops in the gap beyond like a door closing. A long coat drops from the cab. Boots slap lane. A cigarette ember flares. Time presses loud. 0445 breathing down. Every second pinned here will turn maps into stale paper. Pike's mouth is at Hale's ear, breath warm on damp wool. The radio feels like a brick. Battery at last hash, burn full and shout to the Canton, hold and be alone. Hale watches the cigarette arc, the lazy circles of a man without fear of nearby Americans. The panel sits too square in his mind, and if something is where it shouldn't be, someone put it there. Madsen coughs and strangles it, pupils dark. He levers the handcart, weight wrong. A grind on stone rings a bell in Hale's skull. The long coat turns, cigarette a comet. Another figure joins, helmet, slinged MG. Mud under Hale's knees, slurps loud to a ditch-borne ear. Click, intimate as breath, a safety off. Rizzo pulls his thumb back, hugs the tube into bank so hard it creaks. The bent fin rocket in his bag is a ticking choice. Use the straight now on a truck of infantry or keep it for the half-track skirt. Pike slides the radio out, taps the broken antenna she stashed, a length of metal become a way to lie to air. Under the lip, she whispers. She braces it, angles low, clicks carrier for a heartbeat. A prearranged code that isn't standard clicker, call sign and time hack, bastardized for when panels are wrong, whispers and dies. The battery counts like a last cigarette. A reply stutters, almost right, not quite, as if someone echoes a thing they don't understand. The passenger climbs back in. Driver drops it into gear. Beams climb the hedge, a pale tide. The MG man lingers, steps onto the stone bridge above their tunnel. Boots clop, leans on the parapet, peers down with the patience of a man with night left and a machine gun to keep him company. Hale's chest tightens. Breathing is noise now. Ahead, the ditch tightens into a crawl-only throat. Truck noise will ripple water into the open. Hale points, knife hand, 1 at a time, 10 breaths. The first 2 slide. Boots suction pop blend with idle. A canteen cap chinks. Someone forgot tape. The MG man pauses, head cocked like a dog scenting wrong. Rizzo mouths sorry and eggs the tube deeper. rain pattering on paint. Hale's hand closes on absence where the M1919 should be, and the lack hits like a curse. If this goes loud, they answer belt-fed with rockets and rifles and hope 2 HE and a line can answer a lane plan meant to gut them. Cows drift, bells random. One knocks the hedge, a ping that makes the MG man straighten. The long coat returns, bored tone carrying command. His hand tilts. Move. The MG muzzle dips for a beat, then the horn bleats again, too eager to be military, and the muzzle swings off. Pike's ear takes a ghost. One click, pause, two, the second too fast, then a third, a man forgetting rules. Her jaw tightens. "Clicker's cooked," she breathes. Treat answers like tripwire. Madsen pushes and slips, shoulder thudding the bank. The horn masks it. Luck spends a second. Hale buys it. "Under," he whispers. No boots fixed, no breath indulged. The long route is the only route that doesn't put them in the white and under green. The culvert is a cold mouth. Chest flat, water at chin, reeds finger their helmets. Madsen balks at another tunnel. Hale's palm under his neck and a shove make a bridge. You owe the man you didn't kill. On the bridge, the MG shadow leans. Someone's pack brushes Pike's makeshift antenna. Metal whispers on grit. The shadow leans farther, helmet brim inside their slice of night. Rizzo's thumb hovers. The bent fin rocket is a bad coin. He nudges the straight one with a nail. Wind shifts. Ground mist rides the lane, a low tide of cloud. The bridge becomes a tab of shadow floating. The MG man coughs, steps back. The lorry pulls away. Headlights twist for another gap. The lane goes dark. The moment breathes. Pike hisses, "Secondary return, orchard, German, stakes, and string." Someone up there is talking about angles and inland. The trap is tended. They belly under, stone an inch off scalp. On the far side the ditch deepens. Mud steals another boot. A hiss of pain. Choice again. Stop or go. On, Hale breathes. Time over comfort. Dawn won't bargain. Behind, a heavier engine gnaws closer. The half-track. Pale light blooms through hedge at worm height. Pike squeezes the radio. "Last burst?" she asks. He weighs 3 colors of death. Silence. Too much. Just enough. And says nothing with his eyes. No call here. The ditch throws another wire, shin height, glistening under water. Pike freezes, palm up. 2 fingers under the skin of it feel serration. A voice to a flare pot. One mistake, and the orchard goes white. The wire hum is loud enough to be a sermon. Hale tracks its angle to squat orchard trunks, roots like hands. Anchors are clean. Careful men set this. He slides the bayonet under, lifts a hair, finds a secondary. He lets it kiss back down. No cut, no song. He makes a trough with the blade's spine. One by one, they breathe through and feel the water press their thighs like cold hands. Madsen mutters about Iowa Rose. The mind loops safe when present is a blade. Past the wire, the ditch widens to a shallow pool, bank caved, field beyond higher, and open. They pause under the lip. Pike whispers, a mutter in German earlier, panel fixed, string reset, cadence of paperwork. Hale's schoolboy German hears only stake, angle, inland. Someone cares about faces to wind. An officer or trained hand makes bait look true. The handcart is a mule that wants to scream. Rizzo takes front harness, shoulders rounded, another private cradles rocket bag above water. The hedge roots are knuckles. Each wants a button to ring. They crawl with chests, gear deadened by tape and rags, small enough to pass as rumor. Overhead, the half-track idles. A flashlight scratches hedge at shoulder height, quick and methodical. Pike counts the sweep. Patience, training, thin net with teeth. She files the enemy as careful. Careful is harder than tired. Hale risks a foxhole peek. The ridgeline again. The white panel nearer as mist thins, fabric wet and clinging. Stakes bright, bark fresh, no moss. Leading edge, faces sea. Inland of it, a shallow rectangle tamped smooth. Foxhole, mine cradle, crawl space with a fist on a trigger. He doesn't like disturbed earth where hands tie lines. He holds that dislike like a match in a draft. Pike's radio coughs, the battery dives. She spends the last of it on a breath-short whisper, not enough to fly beyond the orchard, more a local itch, a call sign and negative. The reply carries a French vowel on English, close enough to fool a boy. Then a German syllable, annoyed, telling someone to mind the trip line. Nets overlap. Traps are tended. Rizzo leans his cheek to the tube. Behave, he breathes. He pulls back, sweat cold under his helmet band. He sorts shots he hopes he never takes. Skirt at 20 yards if it comes. No skip in this wet. No backblast under stone unless dying is on the table. He files angles like a letter no one wants. A bell keeps time with their crawl. Open ground tongues into their path where the hedge broke and fence was dragged to patch. Doubled wire here, knee and chest, a patient curtain. Beyond, the muslin gleams, smug. The quickest way is the easiest way to die. The long way might still drag them under that blank eye if they don't find another hole. Hale tastes copper and bile. He picks slow. Madsen wipes his ear, blood and rain and ditch water mixing. Bicycle bell, he whispers to no one. Pike grounds him with a hand, and the sentence, that's in your head. Bells are also real here. Her mercy is keeping him from hearing the whisper of a safety thumbed off upslope. They loop around the orchard toward a lower field, a sunken lane that promises to carry if they can slip in without light. Hale thinks smoke, rejects it. Damp night hangs smoke and points fingers. He has none anyway. The only smokes are enemy cigarettes and white threads hung as lures. The half-track's engine climbs and recedes, searching. Then boots on gravel again, paired with a murmur unlike German, English, Dorset vowels that shouldn't be here unless another stick broke wrong. Pike's hand tightens. Clicker rules dead. Hale risks a single low click against his teeth, brass disc under tongue, and the answer comes 2 clicks too fast, almost right, then a third, a man forgetting at the last. Rizzo mouths a curse. The world wants to be simple. It isn't. A shadow leans at a stone stile ahead, 1 foot up like a man resting, then steps away. Hale counts by sound, 2, 3, clink of an entrenching tool not taped. The wrong men lean when safe. Pike shakes her head a half-inch. The route narrows to one choice, pass close to men dressed as friends, or sink deeper in water that wants their boots and patience. They choose water. The ditch bends to funnel their whispers toward the stile. Geometry betrays. Hale counterweights with time. He listens for look patterns, flashlight arcs, moves 1, 2, then himself in the space between glances. A low, dirty light scratches the lower bank, a cigarette cupped, a ring winks and is withdrawn too quick. Not German, a French hand. More eyes than training. Traps with help. The ditch dumps them under a low overpass, barely enough to keep mouths above water. The world fills with tire drum and a driver's bravado. They pack into shadow like cartridges. Headlamps fling a triangle of pale across the water, bright as a scalpel. A boot heel appears at the lip. Pike feels the last warmth die in the radio battery, needle-bottomed. She thinks of words unsaid and stamps the thought flat to keep her chest from heaving. Hale's fingers spread on stone, feeling a vibration that isn't rubber. Steel treads. Chains. A second rig drags weight. A column moves because someone ordered it. That someone doesn't know about the small war under his wheels. Oil smell warms the air, layered over clean apple where branches were cut to clear a line. The mind that set wire also shaved a sight lane from false panel to road, an alley a machine gun could play if anyone obliges. Pike files it for later. Stay alive to tell. Rizzo's knuckles go white on grips as headlights fan across their cave mouth, turning ripples to razors. He swallows the urge to make choices simple, with fire. He thinks instead of the bent fin of smearing themselves with their own rocket. Madsen's teeth chatter once. He bites blood to stop it. Above, a voice any soldier knows without language says, "Wait, then go, then wait." Patience turns ambush into plan. Hale's throat is raw from not speaking. They smell wet wool and old smoke and the sour of nerves. Mist thins. A rooster crows wrong. A German laughs, human and wrong, then barks hard. An order. Check the ditch. Hale reads the nod in boots on stone and spends one breath to tip the handcart on its side. Wheels up, silhouette cut, tucked into a bank hollow. Fingers check wire above, below. Slick route only. On the ridge, a new flare pops green, lower. Light folds hedgerow into a map. Panel clean, scuff rectangle, slight incline where a man would lift his boot. Perfect for wire. The panel is more than false. It corrects for habit. Their refusal is stubbornness masquerading as wisdom. He hopes it pays. Pike tips chin left to a narrower run under a secondary bridge, taps the broken antenna on stone. 1, 2, 3. A code born in a plane to make them feel less helpless. Stone gives no answer. Hale nods anyway and leads, cheek on humming concrete, water sucking at his jacket like a pull backward. The muslin flaps, lying gentle. A droplet rolls off its edge, splashes, and the scuffed depression under it drinks differently. It's a crawl space for a teenager with orders to wait and squeeze. The flare line is buried along the entrance. Whoever built it wants one soldier to kill himself trying to save friends. The second set of headlights fans white into their cave. Boots kneel overhead. Weight thumps stone. A name barks down the lane. Foreign. Truck headlights fan across the ditch mouth, and a shadow steps onto the bridge above them. They press deeper into muck as light rinses reed silver and archstones glare like wet bone. Hale lifts a palm. They melt lower. Cold water floods cuffs and sleeves. Above, heels scuff and pause. Rizzo noses the tube into the bank, thumb a tremor on the guard, counting 2 rockets like prayers, knowing one fin isn't true. Rain ticks on the hood. A voice far side mutters and flicks a cigarette. The coal hangs. Arcs hisses out. The shadow leans longer, listening. The truck coughs and idles. Lamps rake their hole again, looking for motion that can't happen. Pike cups the radio like a bird she can't free, feeling the weight of the single strong burst left. She angles the shortened whip through the culvert mouth, a topography trick the manual never wrote. Hale sketches a path with 2 fingers. Ditch east, culvert under hedge, cut south to the ridge, not to trust the panel, to skirt it close enough to see its teeth, then angle toward a church spire. She nods. Transmission clicks, reverse. The driver feathers back to square the lamps. The stone vault hums with engines and their pulse. Madsen's helmet taps the crown. Flash flares of white bite behind his eyes. He stares at Hale's boots and rides focus along prints. The whistle only he hears drowns a smaller tell. He wonders if he should say it. He doesn't. Boots above fidget. Voices trade a question about cattle and paratroopers and whether to sweep or hold. The clicker in Rizzo's pocket becomes heat he regrets. Hale presses his hand into Rizzo's sleeve. No more sound signals. Silence is the new code. Rizzo nods, eyes on the truck's axle and the space it denies, a raking lane if anyone panics. Hale points across the mouth to a cattle slide, a hoof-scraped slope. Cross under the headlamp's eye, stone and algae slick under palm, and into deeper ditch on the far side. Risk is reed whisper. My count, he breathes. 1 at a time, 10 breaths. They go. Scrape, drag, slide, still. Lamps pause, idle flutters, steadies, leather squeaks. Rizzo goes third, tube steady. The bent fin rocket ticks metal. He freezes. No shout. Move. Reed blades whisper and plat water into collars. A heel pops with a slurp near masked by idle. Out from the bridge, the ditch deepens enough to hide a horse. Sound funnels toward the lane's ear. Pike touches Hale's elbow, nods to a gap between two apple trunks. Between, a trembling bead string gleams. Tripwire. He bellies, knife tip lifts a hair. Secondary hums. He lets it kiss down. Bait's perfect. Wrong wind, right eye. The only safe way is down, under stone, where everything smells like iron and the earth carries every word. Behind, the cows hit a hedge gap near the lane. Lantern light swings, then flashlight carves a pencil beam, catching a scrap of parachute silk. Swearing, a boot stomp. A knee pings the line. Flare doesn't go. Their safeties are on. The outpost is careful. The ditch forks. Shallow toward the sunken lane. Silhouettes soon. Deep into a crawl the bazooka won't love. Hale looks at the tube. 2 rounds, 1 crooked. He chooses what daylight would hate. Split. Rizzo side carries along the shallow for speed with a guard. The rest belly the deep, gear skeletonized quiet. The bird call comes. The first. Time tips. They move on count, trusting the ditch to rejoin and the map to be less wrong than the ridge. Pike thumbs the PTT halfway, feeling the travel. Horizon softens. Range will open feet. She angles the short whip along ditch line, throws a whisper toward the real rally, not the ridge. 1 burst means 1 thought, off. Hale's head tilt, now. She inhales, sends 3 clipped syllables. Fox, 2 negative. The set hums, smells of ozone, then rests. A breath later, reply, local feel, walked not flown. 2 syllables. English writing a wrong vowel, then a chitter, a click pair too quick. Reflex kills the set. Wrong cadence nests with wire and panel. No more. Voss stands beyond the ridge with greasy binoculars, coat unbuttoned in drizzle, hair plastered. He watches muslin lie, wire gleam, frowns at cows, variables in French math. He tells his runner, leave them, bait better than beef, keep flare pistols dry. Reserves doze in a barn west. Sound carries far in wet. He thinks glider, heavy toys. He wants noise more than blood. Noise summons help. He is patient out loud and not inside. Deep ditch team hits the pinch. A rat slit, just enough if you strip gear to bone. Webbing feeds forward. Helmets pass like bowls. Radio comes like a baby. Metal never kisses stone without skin between. Madsen snakes last. Cheek in mud, flight reversed into crawl. The tow release at 1500 under cloud flashes through his mind. He imagines explaining wind drift to a farmer. His neck pops. Pain says alive. He surfaces to air and weeds. Shallow pair skid into the sunken lane. A green tunnel, hedges arched, gutters worn by hooves. Rizzo sets the tube in muck, paint blending, peaks. Left, ridge with a liar's banner, ghosting as mist thins. Right, darker path, Hale chose, away from German eye. North, a quick halo as someone wipes headlamps. He chops right. The carbine peaks. Lane smells like crushed fern and horse piss. Boots pop free with careful sounds. Regroup at a kink, where bank bulges. Blessed bend blocking the ridge's shot. Cows steam against far hedge. Bells aimless. German voices behind. Above, left. Someone decided glider men will take the obvious, not the ditch. Hale feels the globe tilt. He moves faster than comfort, slower than panic. Points at a low stone wall ahead, broken center, gap too neat. Behind it, wet rye, a light wick. He won't cross that open belly before sky lifts. He rides the lanes dark. Pike's fingers tingle back. She inventories under breath. 2 grenades, thin magazines, 1 bazooka, 2 shots, and 1 suspect, a handcart lightened but heavy with meaning, a radio willing to give 1 more tick. She adds, panels a lie, lies sit on truth. traps are watched. She looks up lane. They will not see the watcher unless he wants to be seen. Do they spend the last burst deeper in the lane where banks will keep words tight? She asks with eyes. Hale nods. When the bend covers us. The world narrows. Cloth on bark, wet syllables of boot and mud, distant metal talk of a bolt worked by bored hands. Another flare blooms white, hiss like a kettle. Hedgerows print geometry. Lane is a drawn line. Hail slams them into moss. The flare dies with a pop. Pupils dumb. Temptation to run swells. He rides it down. Beyond, surf thumps a clock. He pushes them off the bank. Move. Under a low branch, single file to snake. The panel flaps behind, taunting. A laugh carries from the ridge as a bored man steps on the wrong wire and a safe trap forgives him. He curses the cold and American stupidity for not appearing at bait. Hale doesn't look back. He thinks of a church spire near St. Mary Glees, of panels in real fields, of hope taught in briefings. He tightens his chin strap. Light makes loose things loud. At an intersecting cart path cleaving toward Orchard, Rizzo halts, hand up. Wire is wire, low and cunning, a waist-high line to a half-buried canister, lift and spray ball bearings for the impatient. Orchard smells sweet in rain. Hale lifts the line with the back of his knife, breathes twice, cuts it, tucks ends into hedge like stems. Trap upon trap. The ridge is no accident. The lane is an artery the Germans need quiet because their trucks run it. He'll use that need as cover. They reach a culvert where Lane sleeves another drainage. Hale gives them that second. He peaks level with the road. West wind pushes mist herds, tears, and reknits. In a tier far right, black dots against gray, seabirds or ship smoke. Beaches are awake. He adjusts path, south and hair east to sidestep the ridge, then bend toward the spire when the lane slips behind a barn. He glances at Pike. Last burst, now. She kneels at the culvert mouth, antenna angled toward where the real rally should be. One breath of voice. Hale, 10. The set wheezes, battery kneeling. The reply has flat Midwestern vowels. Copy, lane south. 2 words and a compass point. The real LZ is alive enough to answer, to give a direction, to ask them not to bring the storm. Pike kills the set and tapes the PTT down so it won't depress by accident and tattle. They slide out like water. Lane bends. Hedge bulges left to block the ridge. Right bank is cut clean as quarry. Rain thins to kisses. Drip ticks on lane like a metronome. Up lane, a truck grinds and lurches. Headlamps cast a low fan across bank above their heads, lighting insects like ash. They flatten and let it pass, then pull up and on, boots vanishing into deeper cut. They glide under a low stone bridge empty of boots, water a thin film carrying shards of sky. It feels like a benediction. Rizzo fingers the bent fin rocket, considers drowning it, keeps it. A bad friend still friend if steel rolls. Madson's hand steady enough to haul. Small mercies stack. Hale brings them to a barn's back, turn to the ridge, a stone curtain. He shows teeth without showing teeth. Fist up, drop, point to the seam path between barn and hedge. Shoulders lift. Behind, in fields they refused, the false panel flaps unattended. First light spills over hedges as real as defeat. Boots vanish into the sunken lane toward the real fight.